Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, we are going to look at a unique tube of paint. We're going to look at neutral tint. So, neutral tint. I like to paint monochromatic. I like to explore two color combinations. I like to play around with complementary colors. Things that are very close to each other as well, and see how they kind of round out a monochromatic type painting. And somebody had said that they enjoyed playing around with neutral tint. So I ordered a tube of it, and thank you for my Patreon followers that support the channel, because I use that to go ahead and buy more pigments, different art supplies, and to experiment with different things. Anywho, neutral tint. First and foremost, I don't think it's supposed to be used to paint a painting by itself, but we're going to see how it goes with that. And that being said, I pulled up a website, lizzieharper.com.uk. This lady paints beautiful flowers. Her website at the top says natural history illustration for books, magazines, and packaging. She has beautiful flower paintings and an article about neutral tint. I'm not going to go through the whole article. I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit while I wet this. But I highly encourage you to look into her stuff. I don't know her, but I mean, she seems really nice and seems like she shares a lot of information for free, which is always great in the art world. That being said, she says neutral tints or colors are gray hues, which don't carry any dominant shade. They are, as the name suggests, neutral. In 1887, a neutral tint was defined by Winsor and Newton as a compound shadow color of a cool neutral character. So blue grays or grays with pink tinge wouldn't be neutral. Okay. So with that, I believe her website has suggestions for uses of it and ways to mix it. And last but not least, because I just want to jump into painting, and I'm feeling a little stuffy in my sinuses, so I'm trying not to talk too much. This is Pigment's PBK6 and PV19. The PBK should be a black. The PV is probably some sort of violet. I feel like I might have actually poured out a little bit of this when I first looked at Davies Gray and Payne's Gray, where Davies Gray has the greenish tinge to it, and a Payne's Gray will often have a blue to it. So we'll see what happens with this one. It should, by definition, not really push towards any color. And I will say right off the bat, for me, it is looking purplish, a black purple. From brand to brand, it probably varies. Formulas for mixing it probably rely on complementary colors or triads. And we'll see what we can make of it. Usage-wise, I believe it'd be used to kind of tone down a color. If you kind of want to just mellow it out some, that'll probably be the best descriptive word in my vocabulary for it. It's kind of mellow your color out. And Miss Lizzie, when I was looking through hers, she had said in shadow you'll often find color. This is just summarizing. And neutral tint would help mellow out that color. I am very envious of botany painters, people that do the floral. It's just amazing how talented they are. And to think about how for hundreds of years, scientific text, books, paintings, everything was just done with through watercolor and paint and pigment, as opposed to photography. Can you imagine being that good that you're the person that draws or paints for an encyclopedia? So it's not overpowering. I'm trying to see how it would do, how it would hold its own. Like I said, this pushes very purple for me. And I'm sure different brands have different things going on. Let's bring that down. So we're just playing around just composition wise, but truly just looking for the tonal range of it. What would probably be fun is to be like take a neutral tint and develop a palette based off of that. And what I mean with that suggestion would be starting with just this guy, and then let's say just grabbing ultramarine blue, and then just kind of seeing how you can change ultramarine blue with this. And then from there, maybe adding lemon yellow. So you'd have your range of blues. So theoretically taking that bright blue and mellowing it out, and then going to bright yellow and just seeing those ranges, and the greens as well. So far, I don't want to make any like quick judgments. But I will say, at this point, I don't know if it would be a color I would use by itself. To me, it has a color, and it's interesting, but I'm not sure if it would work for me solely. As I say that, I do think of stone statues. This may be really good for a study of a stone statue. Maybe Sargent, or was it like Winslow? Was it Winslow Homer? Was that his name? I did some watercolors of fountains. This feels reminiscent of that. But it's kind of like how Payne's Gray has a hard time being the sole tube of paint for a painting. We are on the softer end of things. Let's see how it scrapes. Use the sharp edge. Use that to start creating our composition. So it'll be a simple, basic scene. Let's do that on both sides. So this would be a pretty well balanced composition. which I need to get back to. That was one of the goals for this year, was to explore the different compositions mapped out by Edgar Payne in his landscape composition guide. Let's flatten that out. So it scrapes well. Let's see. Let's do a dry off. So a few thoughts. It does lighten as it dries. It does seem to shift more neutral whenever it dries. I'm going to turn on the blow dryer while we're on camera just to watch this spot, just so we can see how it changes as it dries. There was a little bit of shift there, not too much what I was expecting to show. I'm thinking that the black within the mixture is causing the tonal shift to take place, because black seems to be one of the strongest watercolors that'll shift and lighten up the most. And that's what happens with Payne's gray. And while I was doing that, I was thinking that this might be a great way to do an underpainting and then glaze watercolors on top of it. Because theoretically, if the pigment or the tube, I say tube since it's two pigments in it, is meant to just kind of tone down, just to lower the intensity of the color. If that's the case, then glazing over it, it shouldn't have any mixture and shouldn't have any effect and muddy the pigment itself. For instance, if I had a green down and I painted a lemon yellow on top, the lemon yellow would either interact with that green where it might lift it some and muddy some, or just being laid on top of it, you might start getting that effect with the two interacting. But like I said, theoretically, because this is a neutral tint and is just supposed to mellow out a color, it's not supposed to change it. So if we were to do an underpainting, we shouldn't be affected by it. That being said, I feel like this would still affect a pigment. So we're going to have to experiment with pigments with this, with different colors. So that's good. So one experiment coming to mind already. By the way, if you use neutral pigment, let me know down below. Different brands, different mixtures. I'm curious what you all use and what you use it for. Can you get a nice tonal sketch from just a tube of neutral pigment? So we're looking to see how far we can push this. And my mind, unfortunately, is in another place right now, just thinking about color mix experiments with it. But I'm taking the #1 rigor, where developing the scene, but at the same time just trying to push darker with this. We're still mixing water into it. bring something all the way up. I'll bring that down below. And I'm just trying to get a little variety as well. Because whenever I post the thumbnail for the video, I don't want it to be too crummy looking. And people would be like, oh, I don't want to watch that. That's a crummy landscape painting. I want it to be crummy because of the supplies, not because of me. So, in other housekeeping notes, I got a tea in from Harney's that is like a, I don't know how to pronounce it, some type of berry, Gogh. It's nice. It's very berry flavored. Like if you were to have a berry flavored drink. Apparently, teas that do not have tea in it are called tisanes, herbal infusions. I've been delving deep into the world of tea, and it's been fantastic. I brought my little electric water boiler to my classroom, and I ordered a little set off of Amazon of these little tasting cups, because I have my special ed inclusion teachers that are there during different class periods, and I thought it'd be nice to have a way for them to have some tea if they wanted to mellow out and relax. Kind of just make that nice classroom relaxing environment. Because unless you've been living underneath a rock, you know how crazy the past 2 years are. We're coming up on in less than 2 months the 2-year anniversary of the state of Louisiana shutting down. Grabs a little bit more water than usual. This will be more for just a texture effect. We are getting some darks building up, which is nice. Let's use this wet approach. Let's push it. Let's close this off. Let's do a quick dry off, and we'll see how it lightens. A few thoughts. It does lighten up still. We did use more water than usual though. It's still giving me the underpainting vibes, which is okay. Not every pigment needs to hold up on its own. Kind of like the Davies Gray, how it looked great as a background color, just working with it there. One thing that I did think about was if you found a neutral tint that you liked, or if you mixed a neutral tint that you liked, and this is basing off of the theoretical of what it's supposed to do, you could technically take any color you want and be like, you know what, I want a orange painting. So the orange may have a hard time holding up on its own, while the neutral tint might help assist it in that direction. Another thing might be is mixing a pigment into the neutral tint in any direction, red, yellow, green, what have you. You can then just have a gray that is just slightly that color. Like, oh, I want to paint a grayish orange. I want something that's grayish yellow. So there's that that's coming to mind. A lot of brain cells firing away and thinking. Let's see how dark we can push this. Obviously I'm pouring out a lot of fresh paint, but that's fine. This is the Van Gogh brand, and the Van Gogh brand I think is about $3, give or take. I'm not sure if Cotman had a neutral tint, and from what I heard, White Nights in Europe has quite a variety, so they probably have a neutral tint in it. Daniel Smith has a neutral tint whenever you Google it, but I don't know the price of theirs. Daniel Smith is a little bit out of my price range. I have some Daniel Smith. If there's ever anything that you want me to try out of it, I think Moonglow is a very unique color that everybody talks about. I'll go ahead and order it and I'll try it out if you'd like me to. I don't mind using this channel as a way for y'all to kind of see things first. And there's tons of people that have discussed these things. It's just whatever delivery that y'all like. One of the things, and not to get all philosophical, is the best way to teach is by doing, by demonstrating, and hopefully you get a little bit of insight into the way my mind works and the approach that I'm taking and thinking, and maybe that might assist you with your approach. Who knows? One thing, I'll never tell you what you can and can't do. I was talking to one person, and this is not to call them out if they watch it, so I'm not going to say their name or anything. But they were saying they painted a really nice painting, and they're in the process of it. And they're saying that their art teacher, and I apologize if I'm misquoting, they're saying that their art teacher wasn't happy with it because it wasn't the approach that the art teacher had. And this is important to look at from both the student's viewpoint and the art teacher's viewpoint. Usually the art teacher, if the art teacher is good, or a teacher in general, will have a reason behind something like that. Art teachers that say, don't use white, let's say, excuse me, they might say don't use white because they want you to explore using the white of the paper. But you may want to challenge that if the art teacher says don't use white, but there's no purpose for it. But as a student, be aware that you might not have the knowledge to understand why the art teacher is saying that. That there are those goals there. You could ask the art teacher, why don't you want us to use white? And hopefully the art teacher would have a reason, and it would help you develop your ideas. But keep that in mind. And then as a teacher, teachers should always see the inherent abilities within a student and foster that. But I think in that case, the art teacher was trying to get the student to, I'm umming a lot, I apologize, I'm sorry, to think about approach and seeing the overall approach aspect to the painting rather than working on a single location in it and kind of building a unified, harmonious painting. That's what I had gathered when I looked at the painting. That was a weird tangent, wasn't it? Let's pause this and see how this looks. Well, we do have a wide tonal range with it. I am going to play around a little bit more with pigment on top with this paint and blab a little bit more. But a few things to point out. We did get a full range of it. However, we did get bronzing to take place. Bronzing, which I mention in almost every video, is at this point, whenever we're painting this heavy and using this much pigment, it starts sitting above the paper and it creates a potential sheen, a leathery type effect. This effect could be something that you desire aesthetically. It could be something that you don't like aesthetically. So that being said, just be aware of that. I always mention Joe Menza whenever I'm talking about that, and Joe Menza, who has a fantastic YouTube channel, and I highly recommend checking him out. He will, he mentioned spritzing with just a little bit of water and paper towel will lift that and help get rid of that effect if you don't like that. That being said, if you had glass over the painting, which if you display it, usually glass is the case, unless you cold wax it or do whatever with wax. I've never pursued that. It might change the way it's viewed, and it might not even really affect the look if you have glass over it, so you might not have to worry too much. Another thing to point out is that down here, I used the side of the brush and got a very oriental style dry brush with that dry brush texture where it was kind of outlined and creating that ground. So landscape styles, oriental type work, the combination can give that effect if you'd like that. The color itself, the tube, does seem to hold its own. We did get our tonal range. It's then just a matter of aesthetics if you like this or not. I do find that it pushes a little purple. That's just me, I guess. Let me know what you think. I do think it opens up a lot of ideas and opportunities for mixing colors. I started the video off quoting a Miss Lizzie, who is a botanical and other painter. And she had suggested that the color, that neutral tint, should be used to kind of just mellow down a color for shadows and things like that, rather than just painting an area black. So we'll have to explore that there. Who knows, maybe she has some tutorials on flowers and I could follow along with something there, because that would be really cool. We'll do our last dry off and we'll sign it and call it. And of course, you are more than welcome to follow along. If you do, you have my express permission to sell anything that you do when you follow anything on this channel. I want you guys to be successful, to have fun, and to have cash money for art supplies. If you'd like to support this channel, I have a whole bunch of links down below. I have the Patreon, and I do have some art for sale on the Etsy. Liking and subscribing and commenting, letting me know what you want to see is a great way of supporting this channel as well. So thank you all who always comment, and I really appreciate that. On that note, have a great day, stay safe, and stay tuned for more paintings. Y'all take care.